Grissom Air Base. That's correct. UFOs over Grissom Air Base. Another one of these cases of UFOs flying over a U.S. Air Force base, in this case a Air Reserve base, and our military apparently being unwilling or unable to do anything about it. Now, Grissom Air Force Base, if we go here to Wikipedia, we find that Grissom Air Reserve Base is a United States Air Force base located about 12 miles north of Kokomo, Indiana. Air Force installation, Bunker Hill Air Force Base from 1954 to 1968, and Grissom Air Force Base from 1968 to 1994, pursuant to BRAC 1991 decision. The installation was downsized to an Air Force Reserve installation and renamed Grissom Air Reserve Base. Another one of these Air Force bases, or like I said, naval base. This is up in north central Indiana, so south of Lake Michigan. Built up during the World War II, and then existed all the way through the fall of the Soviet Union there in the early 1990s, where a lot of these things were downsized, but they're still there. And here we have these strange craft hovering over this installation. We don't know what they're doing. All we know is that the military tells us we can't shoot them down, we can't jam them, we can't do anything. We just have to stay here, stand here, and be violated by whatever these things are. I mean, really, it's almost like a ritual of humiliation or something. It says the base has since been used as a joint civil airport military base, approximately 1,700 acres, plus the runway and taxiways comprise a current military installation, with the Grissom Aeroplex comprising the civilian aviation activities, providing general aviation and charter service. Originally named Bunker Hill Air Force Base, the base was renamed Grissom Air Force Base in 1968 in memory of astronaut and Indiana native Lieutenant Colonel Virgil L. Gus Grissom, U.S. Air Force, who, along with fellow astronauts Lieutenant Colonel Ed White, Lieutenant Commander Roger Chaffee, perished in Apollo 1 fire at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station Launch Complex on January 27, 1967. Yeah, what a terrible tragedy that was. It is home to the largest KC-135 Stratotanker wing of the Air Force Reserve, plus units from the United States Army Reserve and also the U.S. Marine Corps Reserve. The host unit Fourth Air Fueling Wing, ARW, the Hoosier Wing, which consists of 8 major groups and a variety of squadrons and flights. The wing develops and maintains the operational capability of its units and trains reservists for worldwide duty, while the wing operationally gained by the Air Mobility Command. Training consists of flight operations, deployments, and weekday and weekend training. And then it goes on, talks a little bit more about it back to here. It says, on October 1942, the Bureau of Yards and Docks sent out a letter to the Judge Advocate General of the Navy, Rear Admiral Walter Brown Woodson, for the acquisition of land near Peru, Indiana, with the intention of constructing a Naval Reserve aviation base. The following day, the Shore Station Development Board sent a letter of recommendation to the U.S. Secretary of Navy, Frank Knox, estimating the cost of the project, including land acquisition, at $7 million. Boy, those days are long gone. This, just as an aside, you're just thinking about that. 80 years ago, put up a whole airbase for $7 million. Your money was really worth something. Just stop and think about how your money, your value, your assets have been devalued by what's happened with our economy and with the government over the last 50, 60, 70 years. Anyway, that gives you an idea of where Grissom Air Force Base is, some of the important stuff they do there, and why it seems like a normal, reasonable person might think that it was a bad idea to have unidentified craft or any other type of spy vehicles out there just looking around seeing what we're doing. So let's go ahead and take a look at this first sighting that we're talking about here. Now, this first sighting of these UFOs over Grissom Air Base comes to us from NewYorkPost.com. Title says, a flock of UFOs caught on camera near U.S.
I'm good. How about yourself?
Authors Natalie O'Neill, published October 25th, 2024. A flock of mysterious glowing UFOs were spotted soaring at high speed near an Air Force base in Indiana, sprinkling dozens of onlookers, according to wild video footage. At least 6 yellowish-orange orbs were captured on camera, flickering and hovering near Kokomo, just south of Grissom Joint Air Reserve Base, before vanishing into thin air on October 7th, according to footage and reports. What is that, one neighbor can be heard saying? I think those are UFOs, and I really don't feel comfortable going to sleep tonight. Another stunned witness declares, what in the actual grave on a Doppler weather radar, according to one witness. I've seen many easily explained radar anomalies over the years, but never a huge rectangle with a clearly defined vapor shockwave trail, the witness told the Daily Mail, which was the first to report the sighting. Judging by the image size, the rectangle would be approximately 20 miles in length, the witness said. Some observers said the bizarre orbs were likely flares dropped from military aircraft. Yeah, you always got to get the unknown debunkers in there. These look very clearly to be flares, Alejandra Rohed, an advisor at the Enigma Labs, which investigate UFO sightings, told the outlet. I don't know, Alejandra, but I'm looking at these things and they don't act like flares to me in the way that they are zigzagging along. The telltale signs are the lights being in a row and lighting up and disappearing in succession, he said. The strange sightings come after a wave of UFO reports near sites including the Joint Base Langley, Eustis in Virginia, where officials reported seeing flashing red and green white lights in December. The U.S. Air Force had given no explanation for the hovering lights as of Friday and didn't immediately return the Post request for comment. Well, don't you think that if those had been flares, that's the first thing the Air Force would have come back and said was, no, those were flares. They do that anyway, even when they are flares half the time. Let's take a look and see just exactly who Enigma Labs is. So just as a little aside here, as we're talking about these UFOs that were videoed over Grissom Air Base, this article in the New York Post quoted this individual from Enigma Labs. Now, this guy sounds sketchy as all get out to me. That's my opinion. So I went to ChatGPT to see who these expert witnesses were that New York Post so conveniently quoted to debunk this sighting over a U.S. air base, by the way. I asked him about what it was and who started it. So I said, who started Enigma Labs and what did they do? That's what I asked ChatGPT. Sometimes it's easier to do that than it is to kind of try to do a Google search. So ChatGPT comes back and tells me Enigma Labs, founded in 2020, established by a team of technologists and researchers focused on analyzing unidentified aerial phenomena. Well, that's just something that they've got off their website, okay? The founders and team members have intentionally maintained a low profile for privacy reasons, so specific founder names are not widely disclosed. Based in New York, the company provides analyzing and sharing UAP sightings and data to aid in research on these phenomena. Well, if these guys don't want to disclose who they are while they're trying to create this app to report UFOs, in essence, make themselves gatekeepers, but they want to do it anonymously. Well, that's fine, but why should I look to them as the expert on this subject then? If they're going to tell me this is for sure debunked, and I should think this and I should think that, they're going to sit up there and act as the authority figure. And I think we deserve a little more transparency. Enigma Labs developed an invite-only, not like Newford, you can just go there and put up your sightings. An invite-only mobile app where users can report sightings and access historical UAP data. They use advanced technology like machine learning, computer vision, and natural language processing to standardize and analyze UAP reports from around the world. The goal is to create a centralized, credible resource for UAP data that is accessible to both researchers and the general public, helping identify patterns and contextualize sightings with real-time and historical information. Blah, 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 blah. highly recommend go to Newport. People can put their stuff up there, and you can choose to believe it or not believe it. It's pure crowdsourcing. This stuff here is called gatekeeping. Round up the reports, put a rope around them, and so then we'll decide whether they're real or not. We don't need that. That's the opposite of what we need. We're trying to figure out what this stuff is. The platform remains neutral on the origins of UAPs, focusing on open-minded scientific investigation and enabling crowdsourced reports that undergo verification against known phenomena such as planes or satellites before being classified as unidentified phenomena. So there you go, gatekeepers. Well, we'll take a look at your report and we'll decide. Well, I have looked at the videos of the UFOs over Grissom Air Base, and I find them to be unidentified. But Enigma Labs comes out and says, oh no, these are flares. Anybody can see that. Well, no, anybody can't see that. Come on, man. I went ahead and I asked them again, what were the names of the people who started Enigma Labs? Well, Enigma Labs was founded with a mission to improve blah, 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 and we just don't want to tell you what our names are. It's basically what they're saying. So I think it's important when these newspapers go around and they quote these so-called experts, especially the ones that want to debunk what we're seeing, we need to call them out on that. Okay? We need to call out Enigma Labs. We need to call out the people that are going on record saying, well, we know that you saw this and you had a video of it, but I'm the expert here, and I can tell you that these things were flares. Well, funny thing is, Grissom Air Force Base, they're not saying that. They're not calling them flares. They don't know what they are. I think that we can assume, though, that they were told not to shoot at them, not to try to jam the radar, not to try to interfere with them in any way. So one of two things are happening. The government knows that there's some sort of off-world interdimensional craft, and they don't want to be aggressive with them. Maybe the Biden administration was warned after the shoot-downs here, a couple years ago, or maybe they are Chinese, and our own government's going along and allowing this spy to occur. They got to have someone keep the gates open while the enemies rush in. But I tend to not think that it's Chinese. I tend to think it's a lot worse than that, because they're talking about this radar image up there, 20 mile long object in the sky. What's going on with this thing? Leaving this radar mark in the sky. So something's happened. That's why a lot of people view this as a mothership releasing these smaller craft to go around basic business, whether they're there to spy on them, collect data, or just kind of send a message, hey, we're here. But this is the type of report that we keep over and over. This is what happened in Langley. You have a report, hey, we got pictures on the radar, and then you have people video these things on their phones as these craft dart about the base. And on-ground reports also saying, yeah, we're seeing this stuff. Civilian and defense law enforcement chasing each around trying to figure out what they are. And in the middle of all of these craft, these large bases, being told by the White House, can't shoot them down, can't jam the radar on them, can't do anything, just stay there and let them look through the window.
Is your call making it hard for you
would be approximately 20 miles in length, the witness added. The Preston Vapor Trail appears to be in excess of 150 miles long. While it's unclear if this bizarre radar return relates to the previous night's wave of strange lights in the sky, several seasoned analysts of UFO videos told DailyMail.com that citizens most likely saw military flares. Look at the appeal to authority that this writer so deceitfully uses here. Calls them seasoned analysts, but doesn't name them. I'm just supposed to assume that this journalist is being honest with me and that he went out and found a seasoned analyst? Well, what were the qualifications to make someone a seasoned analyst? And still, like I said, nothing from the Air Force saying that these things are UFOs. It goes on and says, one anonymous witness who submitted a report to Newport witnessed a baffling and potentially related event, a brief incursion on Doppler radar of what looked like a large rectangular UFO speeding nearby, estimated to be about half as big as Disney World, 20 miles long. The radar UFO was seen in the morning after. Boy. And then here's another quote from this Alejandro Rojas. I don't even know who this guy's supposed to be. These look very clearly to be military flares. Alejandro Rojas, an advisor to tech startup Enigma Labs. Okay, how do these guys make their money? Enigma Labs? Can someone tell me that? Because it's a startup, they're in New York. Wouldn't that be kind of expensive? How do you make money off this? I'd like to know. This sounds to me like a limited hangout. You catch and kill. You catch and kill stories about UFOs, and you get your name out there to the press, the Mockingbird media, who we know have been caught taking money from the government to spread propaganda. So you get your name out there, and all of a sudden you are the go-to for debunking. This guy's going to be a Midwesterner for his money. The telltale signs, Rojas explained, are the lights being in a row and lighting up and disappearing in succession. Oh, really? But they're not falling, though, Mr. Rojas. They're not falling. In addition to the Grissom base to the north, Rojas noted several other U.S. Air Force bases surrounding Kokomo that may have been responsible for the late-night light show. The funny thing is, none of them are coming forward. Kokomo is around 50 miles away from Camp Fort Wayne Air National Guard base, he added. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton is about 150 miles away. These could be from either location, or maybe these are the people coming back to get their stuff stashed at Wright-Patterson. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton is about 100 miles away. These could be from their location. Rojas, who served for many years as the official spokesman for the citizen-led Mutual UFO Network, MUFON. This is why I got bad feelings about MUFON sometimes. Stuff like this, connections like this. Not only are they not sharing their stuff, it seems like they want to monetize UFO reports. Just the opposite of what MUFON. I would say, if I had to do over again, even though my report, my close report UFO encounter I had, I did contact MUFON because this is all I knew about. Looking back, I probably would have wrote it up on MUFON instead, just because they seem to be so much more open, at least, and maybe that's because it's been 13 years ago or whatever now. But I'm not liking this at all. Not liking this at all. Rojas, who served for many years as the official spokesperson for the citizen-led Mutual UFO Network. I don't know, citizen-led, really? I mean, isn't that more like a for-profit company, really? Said he has personally witnessed and videotaped just how eerie military flares can look under the cover of darkness. Why is he so intent on debunking these things as flares? I really don't understand that. I mean, we don't have anything else pointing to that. I live in the Phoenix area, and they often drop those flares while doing exercise at the very Goldwater Range, he said. Sure enough, they're often mistaken for UFOs, and sometimes the media will call them from con. Listen, it's Indiana, okay? It's full of cornfields. The last thing that you want to be doing is just randomly dropping flares off into those cornfields. You will have a giant inferno on your hands. Rojas has also co-founded a new nonprofit to look into unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP Discovery. So he's tied up with UAP Discovery and also with Enigma Labs? This is weird. UAP Discovery said the night sky can obscure more obvious signs of flares like smokes or the aircraft that dropped the flares in the first place. Witnesses have argued that smoke can be seen from flares, but that is typically not the case, he told Daily Mail. Boy, they're really pushing these flare stories. I made this video to show the smoke can often not be seen. He said, my video is similar to most of the ones being alleged to be UFOs. I was about 150 miles from the flares when I took this video. Really? Could you even see them that far away? DailyMail.com has reached out to the public affairs specialist at the Grissom Air Base and also to relevant staff with Indiana's Air National Guard. A public affairs representative for the Griffin base told DailyMail.com Grissom has KC-135 Stratotankers, a large Boeing-made aerial refueling tanker outfit, and they don't have flares. Okay, Mr. Roja, they don't have flares. They don't have flares. So please explain to me, somebody, why someone who's supposed to be a UFO investigator is so adamant about claiming that this UFO is nothing more than flares. We are so absolutely full of limited hangouts in this UFO space. It's out of control. Goes on and says the 122nd Fighter Wing of Indiana's A&G, however, did take credit for the flares. F-16's Fighting Falcon aircraft assigned to the F-122 Fighter Wing conducted night flying operations on October 7th, 2024 near Kokomo, Indiana, said Master Sergeant William Hopper. Incorporates the use of flares and is no cause for concern. Master Sergeant Hopper, the 100 Public Affairs Superintendent, told DailyMail.com. Blah, blah, blah. We're not hearing it. Show me the flares, please. Someone show me. So if our military is so incompetent that they're randomly dropping incendiary devices over vast, dried out cornfields, then I guess I can see why they're also too incompetent to even want to take a look at who's spying on their military bases overhead. The men and women of the 122nd Fighter Wing are blessed and humbled to be surrounded by such a patriotic community here in the Hoosier Heartland, the official continued, pointing to citizens to the Wing's Facebook, Instagram, and X profile. Please visit for updates on when to expect future night flying operations, Hopper advised. We are proud to serve our community, state, and nation. Well, there you go. There's your cover story. There's the narrative. I mean, people see a UFO, and these guys come out and say, well, it was just flares. First off, they've got to get the paid debunker. Not one, but two. Okay? And these guys, I guess, who just randomly have so much money, they can sit around in New York City and create phone apps to report UFOs. They bring a couple of these guys out. How they make their money, I have no idea. Describe them as citizen bunkers. When you go to research them a little bit, you find that they're connected to the deep state subvoice that send it. But you bring them out, you get this into the narrative, flare, and then make a couple phone calls, and someone says, oh yeah, well, the first guy says, oh no, we don't have any flares on our airplanes. But the second guy, oh sure, yeah, we've got some flares, yeah, we were doing some nighttime activity out there. Sure. Well, where are the burned out flares? That's what I would like to know. Goes on down and says, the strange cases in Indiana come just weeks after the new government records surfaced about other UFO waves and near military, including 17 nights in December when swarms of UFOs were tracked over Joint Base Langley, Eustis. Then it goes on and says, these brazen penetrations over Langley, home to at least half the Air Force's F-22 report stealth fighters, led to 2 weeks of emergency White House meetings. To date, Langley's mystery UFOs have eluded identification by the Pentagon police or even NASA's high-altitude research planes, the WB-57F, called into investigation. Well, maybe you guys need to get on the phone with somebody over at Enigma Labs, and they can assure you that we saw nothing but flares coming down out of the sky. General Glenn Van Herk, the commander with North American Aerospace Defense, or NORAD, who led the mission to take down the infamous Chinese spy balloon back in 2023, described Langley wave as unlike any other case known. They bring up the spy balloon, reportedly Chinese spy balloon, but they forget to tell you about what they shot down over the Yukon, over Alaska, and over Lake Huron. Those are conveniently forgotten. Do you notice that? If there are unknown objects within North America, General Van Herk told the Wall Street Journal, go out and identify them. Well, they were over your airbase, sir. Any possibility that you might be able to identify them? I mean, what does the general make? A couple $100,000 a year? I don't know. Senior ex-Pentagon security official Chris Mellon, well, we talked about Mellon
Forgot my
before,
drink.
told DailyMail.com last week that UFOs
So
were
I'm gonna go get a
swarms of smaller
drink.
craft released by motherships. That could be, I mean, you're talking about this 20-mile across
Ahorita
craft being
regreso,
spotted
madre.
on the radar there over in Indiana. He explained that the episode last December was part of a much larger pattern affecting numerous national security installations. Two of the notable aspects, he said, are the fact our drone signal jamming devices have proven ineffective, and these craft are making no effort to remain concealed. Well, we've also read that they were told not to use drone signal jamming devices on these things. So what's going on here? Mellon told DailyMail.com, I make no claims regarding their origin. Perhaps many are Chinese drones. I think we know better, really. But in some instances, Mellon took pains to emphasize it is clear they want to be seen as though they are taunting us. It does really seem that way, that they're just letting everybody know who's in charge and that we're not the ones in charge. This seems to be the case. It has all the hallmark of a group of people within our government that are inbred with these private corporations, okay, SPACs, whatever you want to call them, beyond the inspection of the people. They claim you have 6 or 7 senators or congressmen or whatever that are allowed to see this stuff. Seems like these guys are all in the dark. So you have this small group of people that are really controlling this information, that are refusing disclosure. Now, Louis Elizondo comes out and says, well, the Collins elites, these bad Christians, they view these things as demonic, and they were keeping me from investigating this. Well, honestly, the only thing that we know that Louis did was sit around, maybe drink coffee or not, and shoot the breeze with people and take, I don't know, trips to Skinwalker Ranch maybe? I have no idea what he did in there. A lot of talk, nothing really getting done from what we can tell. But he knows all these secrets. He knows when they're coming back. He knows these bad things are about to happen, but he can't tell you. And he's mad at the Christians, the Collins elite, because they kept him from doing his job. But he does admit there's another group just above them that they may be in contact with these things, whether it's through some sort of mind control, whether it's through telepathy, whether it's through ingesting hallucinogenic drugs, that this group of people within the Pentagon seems to be in control with these off-world or interdimensional entities. Well, if they're in conversations with them, what kind of conversations are they having? Would it be conversations to the effect of, would you like to stop by our Air Force base and just look at what's going on down there? Would that be one of those conversations? And would those be the exact same kind of people that would be in collusion with these so-called private labs that are set up to collect UFO sightings and act as gatekeepers to let you know which ones are real and which ones aren't real? And wouldn't it be so convenient that if the mainstream media just had the phone numbers of those people, so that when one of these pesky little UFO sightings happened to show up on radar as a 20-mile wide mothership dropping out baby ships that were filmed by people on the ground, wouldn't it be so convenient if somebody from the Daily Mail could call up one of those private UFO investigators and be reassured that the only thing people saw was flares? Go back to sleep, sheep. Go back to sleep. Until next time, this is UFO Warning. Over and out.
There's something special about winter in Colorado. The snow is deeper. Adventures feel bigger. And our natural beauty inspires every traveler. From snow-covered mountains and trails to unique cities and towns, new discoveries lie around every bend and new memories around every corner. No matter the place, no matter the day, everything shines a little brighter. Come to Colorado. Come to life.
Are slow Microsoft Unified Support response times hurting your business? US Cloud is the global leader in third-party Microsoft enterprise support. We work with over 50 Fortune 500 companies, support the full Microsoft stack, have financially backed SLAs, and can save your business 30 to 50% compared to Microsoft Unified. Are you ready for a faster Microsoft support for less? Learn more at uscloud.com. US Cloud, faster Microsoft support for less.
Little Kevin got a new toy, his first tablet. He spent the morning excitedly tapping everything, including phishing links. Luckily, Kevin's parents have WebRoot Premium Family. It protects everyone in the house from cyber threats. Phew, that was close, Kevin.
Is your cold making it hard for you to get to sleep and leading to a bad morning? Switch to Mucinex Night Shift for fast, powerful nighttime multi-symptom cold and flu relief. Mucinex Night Shift fights your worst nighttime symptoms to help you get to sleep and wake up ready to go. Mucinex Night Shift. It's comeback season. Use as directed.
Hello and welcome to the program UFO Warning. In this episode, we're talking about the Trumbull County UFO from 1994. That's correct, the 1994 Trumbull County UFO. This occurred in the state of Ohio. On December 14th, 1994, residents and police in Trumbull County, Ohio, reported seeing an unidentified flying object in the night sky. Residents began calling 911 around midnight, with one caller describing the object as looking like a fighter plane with a flame coming out of the back. Police in multiple jurisdictions reported seeing strange objects and even chased him. Sergeant Toby Maluro of the Liberty Township Police Department was one of the first to respond, and his conversation with a police operator was featured on the History Channel show UFO Hunters. Now, a National Weather Service radar operator described the radar signatures he saw that night, saying, "I've never seen anything moving so fast." This sighting remains unexplained to this day. Now, there's a lot of cool stuff out here about this. I found this other article over at paranormal-witness.fandom.com. I'll put these over at Ko-Fi, the links for anybody that's interested. Thanks to everybody that supports our program over there at Spotify. Also, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to. Now, this article says here, they have a little summary of it. It says, subject names: Royanne Rudolph, Toby Maluro, dozens of residents of Trumbull County, Ohio. Subject location: Trumbull County, Ohio, 1994. Paranormal experience: mass UFO sighting. It's interesting describing one of these UFOs as a paranormal experience. I can kind of see that. Royanne Rudolph was a 911 operator in Trumbull County, Ohio, and suddenly received an unusual call. A person called to report what he believed was obviously fire coming out of the back of an aircraft. Within a few seconds after hanging up with him, a mother and daughter called in to report lights in the sky, hanging silently over the block they were at. Even the news media were getting reports of these unordinary flying lights. The calls became too many to be coincidence or prank, so Royanne requested Officer Toby Maluro to go and investigate these reports that she and other dispatchers were receiving from people. Toby drove to the road where the sightings were going on, and soon a nervous person walking by stopped him in the street, nearly hyperventilating. He also showed Toby that there were lights over his house and was asking Toby to study them. Royanne called the local air base to search if they had any reports of this, but there was nothing within a 60-mile radius. Toby came across some lights in the distance, but what he found literally stopped him in his tracks. Within a quarter mile of the lights, everything electronic in his vehicle suddenly died, including the radio and ignition. So Toby was out on a road alone. Royanne kept trying to call Toby, but there was no response from him. She proceeded to direct a couple of cars to investigate Toby's sudden silence. Toby, however, was face to face with the light. He could identify a structure behind the light, but the light was so bright he couldn't see anything clearly. It appeared to be the size of a football field and hovered silently over the trees. While he stood there, it began to move away. Nothing below this light was affected. Toby went back as his car suddenly began to run, and Royanne continued calling him on the radio. He reported back in, but needed to collect his thoughts. Radios began going nuts, with officers and other jurisdictions in the county reporting sightings. Reports were coming in from miles off in every direction. Using the radio reports, Toby triangulated his position, jumped back in his car, and headed off. An officer in Brookfield climbed a radio tower with binoculars and got some very good visuals. He was praying it was just an airplane. Rayanne called the airbase again. There was nothing on radar within 60 miles of the Youngstown area. Rayanne coaxed an officer to take her out to see the thing. She was amazed. She couldn't hear it and it wasn't moving, but its presence was massive. While she and the other officers were examining it, the object suddenly disappeared. Wow, that's a really cool little excerpt there, kind of showing the reaction and the experience of the dispatcher. Let's go ahead and take a look at another article talking about this very strange mass sighting there in Trumbull County, Ohio, back in 1994. Now, talking about this Trumbull County UFO sighting back in 1994, I found this article on Historia.com titled Trumbull County UFO. It says a series of unusual events unfolded on December 14th, 1994 in Trumbull County, Ohio. Just after midnight on a late fall night, a series of calls was received by 911 operators. These reports all involved one thing: reports of low-flying UFOs. The majority of these calls were heard by dispatcher Roy Ann Rudolph. Reports mostly related a fairly fast-moving unknown object/lights that seemed to be ascending. Naturally, at first, 911 operators thought the callers were seeing a balloon, plane, helicopter, or other everyday object. But because of the extraordinary number of calls, Rudolph decided to notify the policemen of Liberty Township. The first police unit contacted thought that the reports were probably nothing to worry about and that a plane was probably flying low. Sergeant Toby Maloro was the first officer on the scene as he proceeded down Sampson Drive to check out the lights. He was informed by a man on the street that the lights were moving south. As Maloro continued southerly on Sampson Drive, suddenly his cruiser went dead. As he attempted to restart the vehicle, it was engulfed by a bright light from above. Startled and frightened, he exited his vehicle and stood outside looking up at a giant object, circular in shape and intensely bright in the center section. After about 30 seconds, the giant object moved away. One of the most striking things about Maloro's sighting was that he heard not a sound from the UFO. After the object moved out of sight, the police cruiser's functions returned to normal. Trying to understand what he had just seen, he took off in pursuit of the UFO. Maloro was unable to keep pace with the UFO. He called dispatch, informing them what he had seen and gave the object's direction of flight. Soon, this information was related to all active law enforcement units in the area, and reports of the object's direction were used to triangulate the object and enable units to move to its location. Dispatcher Rudolph later stated that at least 14 to 15 officers had seen the UFO. Their reports of the object and its movements were
You guys throwing flags? Alright, made it. I don't know if I could keep this on. Oh my god. Give me 1 second. Wait, what's that say? Welcome to your job. Who are you saying that to, Mom? To me? I made it. ¿Qué estás haciendo, madre? My job. My job. Yeah, I can see that. Nice. Well, I'll be back on later. Forced. What's forced? Give me a second. Real quick. Alright. Where you going, Jasmine? Yes. I guess go back to this.
Dispatch, with reports of the UFO spreading to adjacent communities, called the local FAA control tower and asked if they had anything unusual on their radar. Control tower stated that they had nothing
Oh. Are you weeding? Weeding? What do you mean by that? I mean, if I wasn't at work. Let's go. Where are we going? Oh, this is my stop. Not really. She's not there. Is she there? Right at this. So this is my stop, and I don't know where she went. So, how's everybody? He would eventually work. What I need is a microphone. Got it working.
usual on their scope, which covered a 60-mile diameter around Youngstown. Researcher Kenny Young did an in-depth study of the Trumbull County sightings. His request for Freedom of Information Act documents regarding the case was denied. Excuse me? Denied?
Nice.
Why would you deny it? I mean, it's simply a UFO, and if UFOs aren't real, then would the FOIA request for these documents show that? He interviewed officers involved in the case and was confident that they were telling the truth. Yet why would all these police conspire together to lie about a UFO? Lieutenant James Baker
Yeah,
of the
if I let you
Brookville
cover
Township Police
my
Department was
headphones,
one of the officers monitoring the
and she uses
fantastic
the
calls
earpiece.
and decided to have a look for himself. He climbed up an abandoned radar tower in the area to get an optimum look at the object. As he
So
reached the
much
top of the
longer.
tower, he was shocked at what he saw. Not one, but 3 UFOs. The 3 objects were in a triangle pattern, with the middle object slightly
You're
higher
telling me
than the
what
2 on the side. Also, Baker stated that the objects changed colors in unison: red, yellow, blue, and green. He reported his observation to the other patrolman on duty.
Is your cold making it hard for you to get to sleep and leading to a bad morning? Switch to Mucinex Night Shift for fast, powerful, nighttime, multi-symptom cold and flu relief. Mucinex Night Shift fights your worst nighttime symptoms to help you get to sleep and wake up ready to go. Mucinex Night Shift. It's comeback season. Use as directed.
Kind of.
Tis the season for shopping, and with Rakuten, it's also the season for stacking up the savings. Use Rakuten to stack cashback at thousands of stores on top of holiday sales. With Rakuten, you can save money on gifts for everyone on your list. From toys for the little one, to kitchen gear for the hostess with the mostess, to electronics for yourself. Did I mention that Rakuten is super easy to use?
Okay.
Just start your shopping at Rakuten.com or in the Rakuten app. Do your shopping like you normally would, and you'll get the cash back by PayPal or check. It's truly a no-brainer. Join for free at Rakuten.com
this one.
or download the Rakuten app. That's Rakuten. Rakuten.com.
Astronomers have tried to explain the sighting as simple stars that appear low in the sky and appear to change colors. Yeah, because that happens all the time.
They
Of course,
have.
this does not explain the malfunction of police vehicles,
They
lights
have
engulfing
white
them,
chocolate
or
mocha
objects
now.
moving across the landscape being chased by policemen. Some have theorized that the object seen by the policemen of Trumbull County was a top-secret craft from the
Must be
Youngstown
new.
Air Reserve Base. However, Captain John Kepak from the base stated that there were no planes, experimental or otherwise, flying that night. The policemen of Ohio have spoken often about what they saw on December 14th, 1994. Police cars that inexplicably stalled,
so
light beams engulfing their vehicles,
Two of
one
you
or
here.
more structured craft of a nature never seen before or since. The 1994 sightings in Trumbull County have never been adequately explained by conventional flying objects. That is a really good article written by, it says here, B.J. Booth. If everybody could write this clearly and condense the story and put the facts out there like this guy did, man, that would be great. It was a very fine piece of an article there. Thank you very much for posting that. Let's take a look at another one here. This is really, I think a fantastic mass sighting with multiple law enforcement officers, and it just doesn't, I think, get the publicity, and it's not out there in the way that it should be. Let's take a look at another article here. This article, I think, brings kind of a different perspective to this whole sighting.
Cold coffee.
It looks like a blog. It's militarybruce.com. I'll have the links at Ko-Fi.
Need it
Some of these
for
kind of
work.
articles and sites that are a little bit off the beaten path, it can really bring some interesting insight to this. Articles by a gentleman named Bruce Forsyth. Title says, Watcher in the Sky was the abandoned Brookfield Air Force Station, the site of a UFO encounter. And this article is dated October 2022.
Sorry for
It says,
all
down
the
at
noise
the
I
end of
made.
a closed road, a series of ghostly looking empty buildings set silently crumbling and slowly
Can you
being
hear my
consumed
radio?
by the elements and wildly growing vegetation. This collection of buildings once played an important role in the defense of North America. Formerly known as Brookfield Air Force Station, the U.S. Air Force established it as a general surveillance radar station in April 1952. Brookfield AFS was one of several radar stations across America that were established in the early 1950s by Air Defense Command, renamed Aerospace Defense Command in 1958. Think about that. Thinking about aerospace clear back in 1958 as an early warning direction system against an attack by Soviet bombers.
So try.
On at least one occasion in 1994, long after Brookfield AFS had closed and its radars dismantled, there was an alleged UFO sighting near the abandoned radar station. In Canada, 3 early warning radar lines were established: the Pine Tree Line, the Mid-Canada Line, and the Distant Early Warning Line, some of which were manned initially by U.S. Air Force personnel before being turned over to the Royal Canadian Air Force. Information at all stations was relayed to the North American Air Defense Command, NORAD, headquarters at the Cheyenne Mountain Complex in Colorado, and RCAF Station North Bay in Canada. Initially, the station functioned as a ground control intercept and warning station. Members of 662 Aircraft Control and Warning Squadron 662 AC and WS would guide interceptor aircraft toward unidentified intruders picked up on the unit's AN/FPS and AN/FPS-5 radars that monitors the skies. As a radar station, Brookfield AFS had a brief life. Due to defense budget reductions, the U.S. Air Force decided to transfer 662 AC and WS to Oakdale AFS in Pennsylvania and reduce Brookfield's functions, including their ground air transmitter receiver site to gap filler radar site for Oakdale. The purpose of the gap filler radar sites situated between each of the main stations was to fill in holes in coverage areas and detect any aircraft that were flying too low for detection by the main stations. Most of them were unmanned, with technicians attending occasionally for routine maintenance. Thus, Brookfield AFS closed on November 1st, 1959, with the small section fenced off for a small gap filler radar tower and control building. The remainder of the property was turned over to Trumbull County, who established the Trumbull County Nursing Home Facility using the former Air Force buildings. So that gives you, I think, a much more complete idea of what's happening. Some of these articles talk about an Air Force base there. Well, it was what was left over of an Air Force base. It's kind of a smaller radar installation. And now you can see why the FOIA requests were denied. They didn't want people, they probably didn't want the Russians or the Chinese knowing the capability of the radar, that they could just pick up everything through there. And they also may not have wanted the public to know about these 3 very large UFOs traveling through that area. So where these UFOs were sighted at was over a former Air Force base. The gap filler radar remained in operation until June 1968, when it was shut down. Brookfield's Gator site remained in operation until the early 1980s, and then it was closed and the site abandoned. Okay, wow, so maybe there was nothing there. Around this time, the nursing home also closed with no tenants to take over the buildings. They were left vacant. The property was used occasionally for police training exercises. Oh my goodness, it's got some pictures here. It does look derelict. Lana says the UFO sighting of 1994. On December 14th, 1994, at around midnight, the Trumbull County 911 Center logged several UFO reports from residents near the Sampson Road vicinity in Youngstown, southwest of Brookfield. 2 weeks earlier, UFOs had also been reported in the area. So this was a regular UFO wave. A low-flying object was seen and tracked by numerous police departments over a wide area, including Brookfield Police Department and Brookfield Township. One Brookfield police officer reported that he climbed atop the old gap filler radar tower at the former Brookfield AFS to get a better view of the alleged UFO. Now that makes sense. See, nobody else talked about it in any of these articles, but this blog writer here points out that the radio tower that this cop was reportedly had climbed to view the UFOs was actually a tower that was used at the former AFS, this old Air Force base there, which is now abandoned. Not even there. So maybe these UFOs are just flying over to check out if it's still there. Who knows? In the end, there was no official confirmation of what was actually spotted in the sky that night. It wasn't the first time there were unconfirmed UFO sightings in this part of Ohio. That's interesting. And one such incident happened on 17th of April 1966, when 2 sheriff's deputies, Dale Spower and Wilbur L. Neff, were advised by the Portage County Dispatch Center to investigate a low-flying UFO reportedly headed in their direction. At one point, the 2 deputies were traveling along Route 14 at 90 miles per hour, chasing the lights in the sky. Spower reported to his dispatcher of the object they were chasing, quote, "It's about 50 feet across, and I could just make out a dome or something on the top, but that's very dark. The bottom is real bright. It's putting out a beam of light that makes a big spot underneath. It was overhead a minute ago, and it was bright as day here." There you go. This thing's flying overhead. It's putting out this very intense bright light, illuminating the people underneath. This is almost 30 years before the 94 sighting. Others who reported seeing a UFO that night were Wayne Houston of East Palestine Police Department.
Can you hear me now? My legs still hurt. I said, let's see. I said, thank you, James Madison, Delphilo, Sylvia, Jordan, Malas, I can't say your last name, it's hard, and AKA Mom Jasmine, for being here with me. I appreciate it. And welcome to Boricua in Utah. Sounds so funny. I was saying that I drive to work and from work every day. At least the days. I'm gonna do as soon as they do you know, the lights at the temple. That's another one I'm gonna do, is gonna go do a live at the temple where the lights are, the Mormon temple downtown. I want to do that and show everybody what the lights are there for December. Oh, you? What's that mean? Gonna be learning a new language here. Yeah, I can't say that. Can't say your last name, Jordan. I'll kill it. You know what I mean? How is France? Is that where you're from? It's always nice to get to know people from other countries. The radio back on.
Boy, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Is it Palestine or Palestine? Isn't that where that train derailed at? And Police Chief Gerald Burchard of Mantua Village Police Department, who also took photos of the alleged UFO photographs. Chief Burchard stated that the United States Air Force Base told him not to make public. excuse me. So they took pictures, but they were told by
Thank you.
the
Oh, you're welcome.
fellows at the Air Force Base up there not to make them
Very
public.
good moment.
Wow. Nothing conclusive was ever found,
Nice.
and despite photographs
Is that
that
what
were
that
taken
means?
by various people of this alleged UFO, the official Air Force conclusion was that Spauer and others had been chasing the planet Venus. Yeah, because Venus has got a dome on top, right? Deputy Spauer would later advise an investigative reporter that the alleged UFO he and Deputy Neff had been chasing that night ruined his life and career. Well, classic depersoning of these guys. Several months after that fateful night, now former Deputy Spauer was working as a painter, divorced from his wife, and living in poverty in a shabby motel. If I could change all that I have done in my life, he said, I would change that night we chased that damn saucer. Wow. Today, the former Brookfield AFS is abandoned, it says, with buildings in a severe state of decay. Most of the buildings remain, but the radar towers are long gone, leaving only the foundations of at least one of them. Roofs and floors are collapsing, the concrete is deteriorating, and the buildings are slowly being overtaken by vegetation. In September of 2012,
funny,
the
Mom?
property was sold to a private entity. It is patrolled by the police and is not open to the public. The owners are not friendly to trespassers. A radio transmitter for WTNX is the only thing still active on the property. No
Sega's
future
coming in
plans
out of
for
work.
the use of the property have been announced. He's got a bunch of pictures
I
here.
just saw they
Yeah,
put
what a
the
dilapidated mess. Just think of all your tax dollars
the
that were
bins
wasted
with the
on that.
turkeys in
Excellent
it
article.
in the parking lot.
Very appreciative.
So we are picking up our
Chris
turkeys
Forsyth
this
for posting
morning
that. Let's take a look at one more.
at
Kind of wrap this up.
sunrise.
It's
I'll be
always
back
amazes
on
me
at
how these sightings, you
sunrise.
read the headlines, you think, okay, it's a one-off thing, but they always seem to be tied into something else, or a lot of times they are. This is a sighting. This seems like an
We're
area
people
that has
watching
been visited many times, and
and
you
listening
have
to some
at least two cases in 1966
UFO
and
warning
1994
radio
where law enforcement observed the
podcast.
craft. Pictures were taken in 66, but still, we're told nothing to see. Move along. Let's go ahead and take a look at this
Are we
next
gonna?
article.
Ooh, that's a good question.
I just wanted to
that
throw
I'm
this
gonna
last article in
ask
as food for thought.
Osiris.
Now remember, this Trumbull County UFO, December 14th, 1994. And then, of course, we had the earlier sighting in 1966.
Yeah,
And it
people
sounds like
watching.
kind of general stuff going on there.
Here comes
in
another
between.
person.
Well, remember, there's a pretty famous case out of Michigan that happened back March 8th, 1994. So Michigan, 1994 in March, and then Ohio, I don't know, maybe what, 150, 200 miles away, maybe less. Later on the same year, December 1994. A lot of similarities here, I think. This article is from
I'm
woodtv.com,
surprised they didn't
written
turn
by
on the
Henry Erb. Title
tree
says,
lights.
UFO report, vindication for man who tracked 1994 sighting on radar. This is one that we have done before in the podcast, and pretty in-depth a couple times. You can go back and take a look if you like. It says, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Jack Bushong was sure he was going to lose his job. It was the night of March 8th, 1994. Working at the National Weather Service, Bushong's radar was lighting up with stuff he'd never seen before. He was on the phone with an Ottawa County emergency dispatcher who was looking for help identifying lights in the sky over Holland. Holland is the south central Michigan there. The dispatcher was getting a lot of calls. Police officers were calling in too. When Bushong found out his phone call had been recorded, Bushong said he was really scared and lost sleep over it. He fretted about what people were going to say about what he was seeing on his screen. Just that people think you're a kook, he said, or that you're lying or not credible. I'm supposed to be a scientist and a skeptic. Bushong was seeing images on his radar that corresponded to what people were calling in from the ground. He had to control his radar by hand to zero in on the sky south of his station in Muskegon. Oh my, what is that? The recorded dispatch call captured him saying in a startled voice once he had zeroed in. He said he went through his mental checklist about all the weather phenomena and technical glitches he knew about, and what he was seeing didn't fit any of them. He saw what appeared to be solid objects coming together and coming apart, moving about 20 miles in each jump. He recalled they were hovering, then jumping, hovering and jumping. After watching them for a while, they appeared to be forming a wide triangle that moved out over the lake. He said they looked solid. Despite his worry about losing his job, Bushong went on to a promotion and a move to a bigger weather station, a forecasting award, and eventually retirement. He said the NWS treated him well, even though some individuals criticized him and dismissed what he saw. So he clammed up about it. I kept my mouth shut, and I learned that pretty quickly, he said. He wasn't the only one. There has been considerable national reporting about pilots and other credible-seeming people deciding it's better to keep quiet about such sightings. The long-time government approach may have contributed to that. It dismissed UFO sightings as common stuff people just weren't seeing right. After a number of sightings in Michigan in the 1960s, then U.S. Representative Gerald R. Ford of Grand Rapids wrote a letter calling for congressional investigations and demanding the government stop misleading the public. It took more than 50 years and efforts by later members of Congress who demanded the intelligence community produce a report and make it public. That happened this summer. In the report, the government admits that people have seen things that nobody can explain. It even released video by U.S. military pilots. For Bushong, the release of the report was like ringing a bell. It got him talking again. It has everything to do with it, he said. He's now thinking about writing a scientific paper about what he saw on the lakeshore in 1994. He said what he saw on radar looks a lot like what military pilots I reported seeing. I guess I've been waiting for this vindication, he said, which I didn't think I was going to get all my life. He was going to just let what he saw die out. But now, with the basically military coming out and saying the same thing I saw 30 years ago, I can finally say to people, I told you so, Bushong said. The 1994 sighting had a lasting impact on others who saw it, among them Holly Graves and her family. They were among the 911 callers watching slowly rotating lights from their front yard. It was like Christmas lights, she recalled. The incident on the lakeshore got a lot of media attention. Graves said some people were interested in what she saw, but others were hurtful. She kept her kids out of school for a while. They just went through a really hard time, she said. They know what they saw, but it's like everybody still laughed at them. People forget that the U in UFO stands for
What in the world is she doing with her phone out? Know what I mean? Yeah. No, frío. I hope Gala has room in his fridge for the turkey. Good morning, Drew is on. It's another YouTuber. Here come more people. People watching coworkers go in. Why they go in so early? So sad. I thought I was here early. Donut Factory's on. Another YouTuber. If you like conspiracy theories, aka the truth. So this has to be new, and it's sweet. It's sweeter than the regular mocha. Look, I'm here at my job waiting to go in. Auto leave. Making airbag parts. Our slogan for Auto leave is "We save lives." Ooh. It's not a bad job. Pays good. Has good health benefits. But we don't know. If you work, you know. Oh, look, more people. Let's zoom in. What are they doing? Kidding. Okay, Mom. Jasmine Diaz. Where did she go? She said she'll be right back. Sometimes I wonder if it's Violet watching me and not saying anything. Is that you watch me, Violet? Ooh, didn't like that. I'm gonna be on here for another 20 minutes. No, 10 minutes. Then I'll be back on tomorrow at sunrise. 6 in the morning Utah time. If anybody wants to join my drive back home, that's great. If not, that's great too. I do this just for fun, trying something new, to socialize with other people without scaring them away. Kidding. Only because I like the reaction, and then got bullhorns on my car. Hola, Jasmine, ¿cómo estás? Welcome, welcome. I'll be on here for another 10 minutes. So I might get ready to go into work. And then I'll be back on at 6 in the morning. And pick up our turkeys. At least that's what they give us, is a turkey. So see, I don't have to get a turkey because I get one from work. Which is nice when you're tight on things and your check goes to all your bills and feeding the house. Excuse me, sir. You're missing a headlight. Thought that was funny, huh? I'm kidding, I'm not funny. I'm just being a little weird. Because I need to fix that headlight, you know. You know what I think is funny? When people have one headlight and they put their brights on just to cover it up. It doesn't look right. Drinking my cold coffee. Café frío. Ooh, if I only had un chocolate. ¿Quién quiere un chocolate? Me. Oopsie. So yeah. So I just want to say thank you. Yo, mom. Oh, who's that? Who's that? Oh, it's my son. Anyways, got distracted from my son getting here. And, you know what that means. Anyways, like I was saying, thanks for being here, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. It's a Subaru. It's a Subaru. His car's a Subaru. I have, yep. He put wings on it. I helped him. Fender. He's just saving up for tires for the body kit. And what's that mean? But anyways, you know, it's his first car, it's his favorite car. Adios, madre, mama, mamushka. No, I'm kidding. I'll see you in the morning. Well, I don't say morning, but I say sunrise. I'll see you at sunrise, 6 a.m. I will be picking up a turkey. Adios, mamushka. I will see you later. Again, thanks for being here. I enjoyed, even if you were talking to each other, I enjoyed that too. It's fun seeing the chat being interact. Don't forget to hit those thumbs up. I do this for fun. Just until I get bigger. Who knows? This is the most interaction with people I've had. I appreciate you being here and thank you so much. I will see you guys mañana, tomorrow. How do you say tomorrow, Brent? Brent?